I trusted her with everything. She repaid me with betrayal and cruelty. What happened next changed my life forever. Enjoy my new story.
My name is Harrington, and I want to tell you about the day my entire life cracked open like an egg on hot pavement and how what spilled out wasn't what anyone expected. I'm a structural engineer from Charlotte, North Carolina, 38 years old. I build bridges for a living, which means I spend my days calculating how much weight a structure can hold before it collapses. The irony of that is not lost on me now. I thought I knew exactly how much weight my marriage could carry. Turns out, I never stress tested the right points. Sandra and I have been married for 9 years. She was a marketing director at a downtown firm, sharp, ambitious, and beautiful in the kind of way that makes other men glance twice at restaurants. I never worried about that. I trusted her completely. That trust was the foundation I built everything on. My whole life, our house in Dilworth, the weekend trips to the mountains, the dinner parties with friends, the quiet Tuesday evenings with wine and bad reality television, all of it sat on that foundation. I found out on a Thursday. I had left my laptop at home that morning, which never happens. I'm meticulous about my routine, but I was running late for a site inspection and drove off without it. I came back around 10 in the morning, expecting an empty house. Sandra was supposed to be at a client breakfast. That's what she told me at 6:30 while I was making coffee. Her car was in the driveway. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe the breakfast ended early. Maybe she felt sick. I used my key quietly, out of habit more than suspicion. And that's when I heard voices upstairs. 2 of them, hers and a man's. I'm not going to dress up what I found when I reached the top of those stairs. There's no version of that discovery that doesn't flatten a person. I stood in the doorway of my own bedroom and watched my wife scramble for the sheets, her face going through about 6 different expressions in the span of 2 seconds. The man, someone I didn't recognize, younger, with the kind of jawline that probably gets him attention at bars, grabbed his shirt off the floor like he was trying to disappear into it. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there. That's when Sandra made her first mistake. Instead of silence, instead of grief, instead of anything remotely human, she attacked. It was a one-time thing, she snapped, her voice sharp and defensive, wrapping the sheet around herself with this bizarre dignity. Get over yourself, Cole. I blinked once, then came the smirk. That's the part I'll never fully understand, the smirk. Like she had calculated that offense was her best defense and decided to swing for the fences. He's actually much better than you in bed. The room went completely silent. Even the man on my side of the bed looked uncomfortable. A car passed outside. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. I nodded, not sarcastically, not with gritted teeth. I genuinely absorbed what she said, let it settle like sediment in water, and I nodded. Because in that moment, something extraordinary happened inside me. The thing I expected, the rage, the devastation, the impulse to overturn furniture, it never arrived. What came instead was clarity. The cleanest, coldest clarity I have ever experienced in my life. I walked to the closet, pulled out my go bag. I keep one packed for overnight site visits, grabbed my laptop off the desk, picked up my car keys from the nightstand, and walked back downstairs. I heard her call my name once from the top of the stairs, just once. I didn't respond. I drove to the office, sat at my desk, and did my job for 8 hours. Now, I need you to understand something about me. I am not a man who operates on emotion in a crisis. It's probably why I ended up in engineering. When a structure is failing, panic kills people. Assessment saves them. So while part of me was quietly coming apart somewhere deep and private, the functioning part of me was already building a plan. I called my attorney from the parking garage at lunch. He's a friend from college, a man who has handled more than a few dissolutions in his career. I told him what happened. He told me not to move back into the house, not to confront her again, and not to touch any shared finances until he gave the green light. I followed every instruction. That evening, I checked into a Marriott 6 miles from our house. I ordered room service, a burger, sweet potato fries, a cold beer, and watched a documentary about the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge. I fell asleep before 10. I slept better than I had in months. At 7 the next morning, I picked up my phone and counted 52 unread text messages from Sandra. 52. I set the phone face down on the nightstand, ordered coffee from the hotel restaurant, and called my attorney back. It was time to get to work. I didn't read those 52 messages right away. I let them sit there like evidence, which is exactly what they were about to become. My attorney, whose name is Patrick Holloway, a barrel-chested man from Tennessee who once told me that divorce court is just a poker game with paperwork, had advised me the night before to document everything. So before I even opened Sandra's messages, I took a screenshot of the notification screen showing the timestamp of the first text sent at 11:47 the previous night, and the last one sent at 6:12 in the morning. That screenshot went straight to Patrick's email. Then I read them. The first dozen were angry. defensive. The same energy she had deployed in our bedroom, sharp, accusatory, turning the situation around like a knife in a hand. I was emotionally unavailable. I worked too much. I made her feel invisible. The affair was a symptom of my failures as a husband. She had needs that I neglected, and if I had been paying attention, none of this would have happened. I read those with a kind of detached scientific interest. The way you examine a crack in a support beam, noting where the fracture started, how far it had traveled, what it revealed about the integrity of the whole structure. Then, around message 16, something shifted. The anger drained out of the text like water from a bathtub. What replaced it was something raw and considerably less composed. She had apparently done some thinking between midnight and 3 in the morning. The messages became fragmented, some of them barely coherent streams of consciousness fired off in the dark from a woman who had begun to understand what she had actually done. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't mean what she said about him being better. She said she was scared and embarrassed and that she had been cruel in the worst possible way because she didn't know how else to handle being caught. By message 30-something, she was begging. By message 45, she mentioned the word divorce and how the thought of it made her physically ill. Message 52, sent at 6:12 in the morning, was 4 words long. Please come home, Cole. I forwarded the entire thread to Patrick, finished my coffee, showered, and went to work. Here is what Sandra did not know when she was sending those 52 messages into the dark. She did not know that Patrick had already identified, through some discreet preliminary research, that the man in our bedroom was a junior account manager at the same firm where she worked, a man she had presumably been seeing for longer than one morning, given the comfort level I had witnessed between them. She did not know that Patrick had already drafted a preservation letter to ensure all relevant financial records remained intact and unchanged. She did not know that I had, over the previous 12 months, quietly built up a personal savings account, not out of suspicion, but out of a habit of financial independence I had maintained since my 20s that sat entirely outside our joint accounts. And she did not know that the house in Dilworth, the one we had bought together and renovated together and hosted Christmas dinner in for 7 straight years, was something I was entirely prepared to let go of. That last part surprised even me. But when I drove past it on the way to the office that Friday morning and looked at it from the street, the burgundy front door she had chosen, the hydrangeas along the walk that she watered every Sunday, I felt something I can only describe as relief, like a man setting down a bag he didn't realize had been breaking his back. The proceedings took 4 months. Sandra hired her own attorney, a woman who was aggressive and thorough and who I actually respected for it. There were tense meetings and uncomfortable negotiations, and one afternoon in a conference room where Sandra cried for 40 minutes, and I sat across the table and felt genuinely sorry for her pain while simultaneously refusing to alter a single term of the settlement. Both things were true at once. Grief and resolve can occupy the same body. I know that now. We divided everything fairly. She kept the house. I took my retirement accounts and a clean exit. The man from the bedroom was apparently no longer in the picture by month 2. Sandra sent me one final message after the papers were signed, a real one. Not 52 panicked fragments, but a single, composed paragraph saying she was sorry for all of it, especially for what she said that morning. She said it was the cruelest thing she had ever done to another person and that she would carry it. I believed her. I wrote back 2 sentences. I told her I accepted the apology and that I wished her well. Both were true. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in South End now, close enough to walk to the best coffee shop in the neighborhood and far enough from my old life that I can breathe evenly again. I've taken up running in the mornings, something I abandoned years ago, and last month I finished a 10-kilometer race in under 50 minutes, which my doctor said was borderline impressive for a man my age. I build bridges for a living. I know better than anyone that some structures, once compromised at the foundation, cannot be reinforced. You don't keep adding weight and hoping. You assess the damage honestly, you close the crossing, and you build somewhere else, somewhere the ground is solid. That's what I did. And the view from where I'm standing now is something I never could have engineered from inside that house on that Tuesday evening with the wine and the television, back when I thought the foundation was holding. It turns out collapse was the beginning.
Sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself. Thanks for listening. Follow for more stories.